Before I address the squad, I just wish to thank Stephen Rice for all his hard work over the 12 months. He was excellent when he was in with us, and I wish him, nothing but success with his new and exciting venture with Brentford Football Club. Where he'll work alongside former Irish senior assistant Keith Andrews, and it's an exciting challenge. And I'm part of myself, staff, FEI. We wish him well going forward. And coming in for this camp will be an internal coach, Dennis Hyland, who I've worked with at under 18s level, and he's um, has continued his role there with the under 18s, where he's worked with Colin O'Brien, and he's a very experienced coach, pro license holder, and he's a really, fantastic work ethic, which is important. And of course, he's got league experience, and look forward to working with him in this particular window. So these are two challenging games. Certainly away to Moldova, it's not going to be easy. Um, we know all about them. We know their strengths, their weaknesses, and it's going to be a huge challenge for our players. Um, they've started the campaign on the front foot, beating Andorra 3-0. And it's a game. Yes, it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be one that we look forward to, and I think the squad reflects this. We've It's always a challenge to select a squad. There's no doubt about it, but we've got, I'd argue, probably the youngest squad that I've selected, or possibly in the history of the 21s here, with 10 teenagers, and 8 of them can go again for the next campaign. So, the purpose behind that is because these players, if you're young enough, you're capable enough at this level, and we've done a hell of a lot of hard work to get to this point with the squad, and we're very happy with what we have. Firstly, we've 5 new players. Trent, I think we all know the impact he's made at Liverpool. They're 21s. He's played with the senior team in the FA Cup. He offers pace, a real outlet on the right hand side, and we've seen him play last week with the 21s, where he was hugely effective in his role playing out wide. We've got Michael Noonan's coming in. Michael, again, he's playing with a fantastic team, Shamrock Rovers, and he's broke into the team. He's played in Europe. He scored in Europe, so we couldn't help but bring Michael in. But I think it's important to make the point that Michael will certainly be representing the under-17s in the World Cup. But I do think that what we have here in our international program is a pathway that players can, move up and move back to their age groups. But it's all to help the player develop. I think that's our North Star as head coaches here, to help the players develop, ultimately to get into that senior team. So looking forward to working with Michael. Got Romeo. He's a midfielder with Southampton, who they rate very highly, who we rate very highly. And I wanted Romeo in June, but he'd pick up a knock. And so with Trent, we wanted both of them to come in June and sort of sample under 21s international football, because it's totally different and this is no disrespect to the under 21s development league over in England. Like, it's playing against teams who also have European experience playing this year. I think Boy Lupon and Rotaru for Moldova have scored goals in the Conference League. So, it's going to be a stiff test. Freddie Turley, Tom Mona spoke exceptionally highly of Freddie. Freddie can play in multiple positions, which is a help. He play in midfield. He can play as a fullback, and we've recognised that. And he certainly merits his call up. And Cathal McCarthy, a Hull, made his debut last week against Blackburn in trying circumstances. It was a really challenging debut for him, but he done well. But prior to that, he's been outstanding in pre-season games for Hull. He's played in midfield He's played in that holding role, and he's been exceptional playing against really top class opposition. And we're looking forward to bringing him into the squad. And then you've got players who have said already who've been with the senior team coming back. James Banquet, fantastic, fantastic individual, fantastic player. Looking forward to seeing James again. And Rocco, I think we all know um, the qualities that Rocco has. He's a brilliant person, brilliant player. He's got a senior cap, and who knows going forward, this could be, the last window for the two of them to play with the 21s because of the talent that they possess. But one thing for sure is as soon as they come and meet up with the group, they'll be 21s players, and they'll know the the size of the task in hand, going away to Moldova and home to Andorra in Tele Stadium, and it's also good to welcome back Mason Melia. He'd been injured in the last window, and Mason, he's going through a rich vein of form at the minute, scoring goals, and his movement's getting better. And I think we all know how much it means to him to come in and play with the Irish under-21. So in essence, that's the squad. And if anybody's got any curveballs or questions, off you go.
Connor, if you want to leave from there, but
Well, Jim, how are you doing?
How are you?
Good, good, thanks.
Good.
How good does it feel to finally be back in competitive action? Because it feels like it's been an awful long year since that game in Italy and a lot of warm-up games. And as good it is probably to play games, nothing beats that competitive feeling. So is it great to finally be back with qualifiers?
Oh yeah, like there's nothing like the competitive games. It brings a real edge to it. It's a real edge to our staff meetings because we know this is it. The green light is on as soon as we meet up. Um, but the conversations were intense about selecting players, and we need to get the right players on the pitch that can go and perform. We're looking forward to it. I've already been over in Moldova. The pitch hopefully is held up okay. It, it's we'll get a look at it again when we go over there. But it was only all right when we were there. But look, that's not an excuse. That's just the environment that will be set for us when we go there. So we have to expect that, and this is what under-21s football is about: is learning how to perform in those environments. But certainly, yeah, looking forward to it. You're right, a lot of games, not really meaningless games, because I think every time you put on a green shirt, it should mean everything to you. But it can be difficult in a June window. Players are coming back from holidays, and players are going to holidays immediately after the camp. But now we've got everybody fully focused on the job in hand in this September window. But look, we're looking forward to it. And I've been talking to most of the players, most of them, and they feel the same too. They're looking forward to it. But remember, with players, it's a longer way away for them than myself and the staff because look, we're looking forward to the Moldova game while some of the players have got midweek games, they've got games in the weekends, so they've got other things to concentrate on, which is understandable, and it goes with the job.
Yeah, and you spoke in June about the fact that the last group you had, it was a lot easier to establish who the natural leaders were, people that would step up in the leadership role. And this group has kind of took a bit more time to see who will step up. Do you think with bringing the likes of James Abanko back in the squad, and even Freddie Turley, who's captained Ireland at 17s and 19, will help a lot in terms of leadership and making players more established in the 21 shirt?
Yeah, yeah. Look, leadership is something that's learned, and you've got natural leaders, and we've got a lot of leaders in the group. There's no doubt about it, but leaders in different sort of aspects where they're ultra professional, which is leadership traits where they'll come to meetings, they'll ask questions, they'll train right. Maybe not as vocal as other players we've had, but with the likes of James Banquet coming in, he'll come in and he's a first team player at Watford, so he'll come in and people will learn off him and be inspired by James, by Rocco, who's been a first team player at Watford as well, and who's gained a senior cap. So that's the role of players like that are coming back to playing with the 21s. So other players can feed off that. It's Freddie's first time in. Spoke to Freddie about the possibility of coming in June, and he was doing his leaving cert, and I was delighted with that too. It shows he's got a head on his shoulders that he's um he's keen to get educated academically. But I've heard nothing but glowing reports about his character from Tom Moan, and that's something that I'd never take lightly coming from Tom.
And just with Cal McCarthy, it's kind of been, I think everyone's been surprised how well he's actually done at Hull so far. He's kind of embedded himself in so quickly, and especially going into a midfield role in pre-season, playing as a number 6. And I think he's become a fan favourite already. And where do you feel that he could probably best suit this Ireland setup? I know it's good to have versatility, but are you keen to see him in midfield, or is it centre half where you think he's best?
Midfield, I'll be honest with you. Why? Because he shows a lot of good traits. He's good on the ball. He can receive the ball in tight areas. He understands, finding the spare player in low building situations, if you want to call it that. He's he's athletic. He can run, and he's aggressive. And look, last Saturday against Blackburn, he played as a centre back, and I think the final 10 minutes you seen him being moved into midfield. Um, but look, the game was over then, and Cahill was he's quite tired at that stage of the game. But I think the manager showed a lot of confidence in not taking him off, putting him into midfield where he made an okay impact. But that's where I'd see him is to play in there because his pre-season games that he played in there against Sunderland and other teams of high caliber, he looked very comfortable.
All right. Thanks very much, Jim.
No problem, Connor. Take care.
Hi guys, anybody? um,
I'll jump in there, Jim. How are
thanks,
you?
Gavin. How are you?
Gab, how are you?
Yeah, no, sorry for leaving you hanging.
Oh,
The
no.
this Noonan's very interesting because you do want him to be like a star of the show at the 17s World Cup as well, and balance him with this and balance him with Rovers. Have you kind of kept in touch with Stephen Bradley? Have you kept in touch with the 17s? Is it all kind of planned out how you don't overuse them but also expose them to the higher level?
Look, spoke to Stephen Bradley, and Stephen just wants him to play, which is understandable. Um, you know, like ultimately it's two competitive games we have, and look, we don't know the starting 11. Will Michael play minutes over here? Yeah, he'll play minutes for the 21s. Um, we're not bringing him over here to be sat in the stand or to be sat on the bench for 90 minutes and not play, because I don't think that's right when you're bringing a player from another age group. But what it will do to Michael, it'll give him a real taste of another level, under 21s level, competitive games. And I think that will help his development and it will help him similarly to what Rocco Vatsa and James Banquo will do coming back to our group, where you're hoping that they'll bring that first team experience with Watford and their senior international experience back with them, and players can learn from how they handle themselves, how they equip themselves, and I'd be quite confident, Michael, because I know some good friends that are close to Michael that have said he's an unbelievable character. So I think that his experience and what he learns here in the 21s, he'll be able to bring that back to the 17s in November.
I'm going to ask you about Trent Doherty. Obviously, we saw that Liverpool FA Cup performance, but This is kind of an old question. Is there interest? You get this a lot, but it would be interest from England. Are you keen to get him declared for Ireland? And obviously, in your setup, would there still be interest from their camp to get him in from Lee Carsley's squad?
No, I haven't heard, you know, of any type of interest. I just know um, Trent is desperate to play for Ireland. So look, I'm happy with that. We wouldn't have included him otherwise. Um, but it's just one of those things that, you know, in June he picked up a knock. I would have loved him. I had a conversation with him about coming in June, but he had a knock, and Liverpool felt the most important thing for him to do was to rest in June and to come back pre-season um, on the front foot. And I think ultimately that was the right call. But in terms of other nations being interested, no. Look, I haven't heard of anything yet. But come here, something that I forgot to say was the likes of Jack Moorhouse and Owen Elding, the paperwork with them unfortunately didn't um, come through. So we'll hope to have them available for selection in October. But that's why those two have been left out of the squad for this up and coming window. Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No worries.
Owen,
Yeah, hey Jim. No, I was actually about to ask about Owen Elding and Jack Morehouse. It is just paperwork's the problem, or just
Just
that
paper,
both?
just
Yeah,
paperwork. It's look, not ideal at all, but look, it is what it is. It's in the hands of the passport people now, and we just have to have a waiting game. But I was sort of told that look, October would be a more realistic window that we'll have both of them available for selection, depending on how they're performing.
good stuff. And just on Tuesday, Hamer name checked both James and Rocco as people who were unlucky not to be in his squad. Like, did you have a discussion with them, or are they still on standby and there's a possibility they could move up, or how's it working?
Yeah, I had a discussion with Heimer about it, and it is what it is. That's international football. If the weekend goes against the 21s and there's a few knocks picked up, James goes in, Rocco goes in, great. You know what I mean? I'll be the first to say best of luck, because that's what this is about. It's about helping players develop to get them into the senior team. So, um, it was a challenge us picking the squad, the 21 squad, and there's others that if the two lads do get a call up to the senior team, look, we'll have good replacements that certainly wouldn't look out of place at all. So, we've got a contingency plan here with every position, with every player. So it's not a big deal, not a big stress, and ultimately that's what we all want to do as international head coaches, is just help the players develop.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier about hopefully the pitch holds up. Like,
Yeah,
is that a concern? Like, could it be a little ropey, or is that another challenge?
that'd be another challenge. I think. Look, I went there a number of weeks ago, and I knew it was just really a recce, checking out hotels and distances from training ground to the hotel and etc. But the ground was just okay then, so you're sort of saying, okay, the season is starting over there. There could be a lot of traffic on the ground. We have somebody over there that sent pictures of the pitch the other day, and it looked okay. Training pitch, not so good. While it was sort of reversed before, because I thought the training pitch was really good, and the pitch um it was so. But look, as soon as we land over there, we've designated somebody to go down and have a real look at the pitch, because again that changes things, what way you'll approach the game and what have you. So it will have a bearing on it. Will it be excuse? No, because look, you just have to get on with it, and Moldova have to play on it too, so it's not ideal, but you just have to find a way. You have to find a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you hear Ireland and Moldova and you think should be an away win, but this sounds like a banana skin to avoid as well.
Yeah, this would be a tough game. Be a tough
Yeah.
game. And look, I think if you're going by brand names, I think people go, oh yeah, Moldova, but it's not. You know what I mean? They're a good team. They got players playing first team football, players playing in Europe, and probably the big challenge from us is we're bringing over such a young squad to play to compete. But you know, those players were picked on merit, and it's going to be a real test. But it'll be a test that we'll, as a group, look forward to.
All right, thanks, Jim. Best of luck.
Okay, take care, Alan. Thank you.
Just
Sean, if
pop
you
in
want to
there.
jump in.
Jim, how's the form? Good to see you.
Good seeing you again. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
Good.
Just you mentioned there at the top of the call that you feel possibly the youngest 21 squad in the history of the team. That's kind of timely with the academy audit that came out yesterday. Just how does this feel like the most talented group you've had in terms of age profile being that young?
It's a good question, and it's a difficult question to answer because you just don't know at the minute, you know, because we've got Romeo coming in for the first time, Trent coming in for the first time, Freddie Turley, Michael Noonan, all players with enormous potential, but it's how they'll, cope with, under 21s international football, which is it's a long way away from the developmental football that is played in England. And trust me, I do believe there is a place for it. But people have to realise that it is a step up. You're playing against lads who are playing first team football. Some players' ceiling may be higher because of their potential and they'll go further in the game. But we're talking about the here and the now where we're playing against players who are playing first team football, European football they're playing. So I'm excited with the group. But in terms of the best group, I'm not too sure. It's we're a group with serious potential, and we learned a lot in our journey up till now. We played Sweden twice, Hungary, Scotland, Qatar, and Croatia. We played, different systems, so the players can have a reference point. We could use clips going forward if we're going to change our system, and that was done on purpose. So it was something for them to get to grips with. And it would have been nice if we had the group, for all those games, but we didn't. But it also gave an opportunity for other players to show what they can do. And nobody let themselves down. It was a challenge to pick a group. But to say it's the most talented, um, I don't know yet, because, we've had some really good groups, and it'd be unfair to say, oh, this team is better than that team, But I'm just excited. I know Paul McShane is excited, and the rest of the staff are excited to working with the players in this camp. And one thing about the group of players, they're a great group with an unbelievable attitude, and the pride that they have and passion that they have playing for Ireland is a starting point.
Might have froze there. We froze, have we?
It us?
Yeah, got you back in.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, all good. And sorry, just on Mason, how pleased are you to have him back? Because I think it's 3 of the last 4 camps he's missed through a knock or through injury. And secondly, it's coming up to 6 months now since you would have last seen him in an Ireland shirt last March. So are you expecting a different Mason, obviously 6 months more experience, European
Yeah.
games, and he kind of seems kind of fitter, one thing, but stronger as well.
Yeah, he's fitter, he's stronger, he's in a good place. I think it's, he really enjoyed coming in with the 21s and scoring, and he was brought in for that particular window because, again, we wanted to stretch and support him in his development because we know the potential the player has, and we knew bringing him in then that he was going to be, a key player for us in the campaign. Um, and it's good. Look, he's learning a lot playing at Pats. He's working under the former senior international manager who knows how how important it is for players to go and represent their country, and how important it is with regards to their development to go and play international football. So, when you've got that in place, it's I think Mason's he's in he's in a good environment. Some really good coaches there that are working with him, and you could see every game that he plays, he's getting better, whether it's his movements, whether it's um, the timing of his runs. And we're excited to work with him again. So, Mason be in, and um, I think we've got an exciting array of strikers in this window.
Thanks, Jim. Good to see you.
Great seeing you again, Sean. Take care.
John, last certainly not least.
That's great. Thanks very much. How are you, lads? How are you, Jim?
How are you? How's things, John? You all right?
I'll go, Jim. I'll go. You know yourself, off the pitch. Good moment. Listen, I know you mentioned Michael Noonan there, but can I ask you about Victor? He's obviously quite topical at the moment. Is he in your plans, or is he still a bit to go in terms of physical development?
No, look, he's look. You gotta say they're not like obviously they're not our players. You know what I mean? They're Victor belongs with Shamrock Rovers, and when we've seen him play, and we've been quite excited by him. Now it's about can he play a little bit more consistently, but certainly he's a player that you can't ignore those talents. We've got other players that are playing over in France and Italy that you can't forget them either. No matter what age, if they're good enough, if they can bring that level of excitement and energy and end product to a squad, you can't ignore them. As I said to you, no matter what age, and I think that's our jobs as international managers is that okay, can we help them? Can we stretch support? Can we push them through? Um, in a strategic manner, because ultimately we want players, and I've been on the receiving end of it for a while, where you're letting players go up to the senior team. And as long as they're going up and playing meaningful minutes, brilliant. I'm happy with that. But, if we were to bring in Victor, we're bringing him in to play um good minutes for the 21s. Have you got company there?
I do. I'm dropping to electric picnic here, so I'm doing my job.
Are you performing, John?
No, I'm waiting for Sunday. That's
I knew.
the
I knew.
headlining.
Yeah.
And then just another one, I suppose, is not in Kevin Zeffy. Is that just selection, or is there any wavering on his side?
No, it's selection. Look, he's not playing so, our barometer is, are they playing? Where are they playing? How are they playing? What positions they're playing? But if somebody's not playing, it's difficult because, you're bringing over a squad of 23 players, and then if you're using any one of them, they've got to be on it, so if you're coming off the bench, you've got to be ready to play and give everything you have. And, that's extremely important. We can't sort of bring in somebody who's not fit. And look, he's probably fit, but is he match fit? Um, I don't think so, But look, Kevin, he's got talent. We've had the conversation before that he just needs to get to a club and start playing football, whether that's under 21s football over in the UK or back home here playing with a club. That's got to be top of his priority list, And until that happens, that's when we can sort of make a really good assessment on him to see if we can bring him in.